Hey everyone, and welcome to another Energetic Arts training session. Today's topic is relaxing into expanded awareness. Now, relaxing is a really important skill in this type of work. When we begin to move our energy up into the brain and we move it into those deeper parts of the mind where the pineal gland begins to activate and reconfigure those chemicals into a way that induces dream-like states or deep trances or lucid states of consciousness. We end up moving into a whole new area of reality, a whole new level of consciousness. And in that space of no space, that time of no time, although it's a profound experience, it is not necessarily always positively profound. So there are going to be times where things are going to come up, we're going to get triggered, we're going to feel emotions that are uncomfortable or that we've been pushing down or pushing to the side. And we're going to be confronted with what's outside of the edges of our current personality and realm of acceptance. And so being able to relax in those moments and out is a skill that every psychonaut, every seeker, every dreamer needs to have in their back pocket. It's like a carpenter having a hammer, a chisel, and a saw. You know, they're your basics. So breathing, relaxing, and focusing are keys to this experience. Now, while I move in over a few topics and I prep and set things up for our exercises tonight, just notice that you've got a little chat feed on the side there. Just give me a hello. Let me know that everything's working well on your end and that you're receiving me well and that you're ready to get going. Just a few things that I'd like you to have going into this is something to write on. You know, have a notepad with a pen beside you or some kind of marker. Just easy when you're stepping in and out of the zone, you can just scribble things down. And if I can see where mine are somewhere, a set of blindfolds if you have them. Mine have decided to move around on me. You'll know what I mean if you have them. If you don't, it's fine. We'll be doing some eyes closed work. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in and chiming in. Okay, so it looks like we're good to go. So I'm just going to set the frame for you. I'm going to tell a few stories, do a few language patterns to get the mind ready for about what we're about to do. I'll set the stage of what the exercise is going to be for tonight to practice this skill of relaxing and going into that expanded state of awareness. And we're going to be moving in and out of that state, practicing traversing that edge, going beyond the edge of your mind and coming back and going out and coming back. And then I'm going to bring you all back. You're going to collect yourself, come back into the present time and space. Once you've done some notes or you're back in your body, then I'm going to ask you how you're feeling, what experiences did you have, and if you have any questions, and this is your chance to just get in on the chat feed and put them in there. I'll do my best to address them if they're on topic, and if I If I can't, I'm sorry in advance. And then we'll wrap up. Usually we go through between an hour and 20, hour and 30 minutes. I'll try to keep it as brief as I can, but we'll stop when within that time frame and when the energy starts to run its course. So when we're talking about expanded awareness, what is expanded awareness? Now, I was first consciously introduced to this. I was practicing this a lot earlier, but consciously was introduced to this through learning neuro-linguistic programming. It was one of the first exercises that I learned in how to induce a trance state in myself. And they called this expanded awareness because, and it was related to what the samurai used to do to get into what we now would call a flow state, or into a state of no mind. And although this doesn't sound like a very, powerful state, especially going into battle or combat, it is a very powerful state in that when you move into this state of no mind, and you become very relaxed, but you become alertly relaxed, and it allows you to have access to all of your faculties and all of the options that are available to you, and to, without much delay at all, without the delay and interruption of thinking, to be able to select the appropriate thought, movement, action, emotion, and you absorb as much information and work out what's relevant in the environment. And so when we move beyond that thinking mind, that monkey mind, and we start tapping into our intuition and emotion, there's a lot more information in that bandwidth on the emotional level than there is in just the analytical thinking brain mind level. And so when we move that part of the mind out of the way and we relax through it, and we have access to a lot more options that are in our environment that maybe we just can't perceive. So one of a personal story where this happened, where I was activated into this state and how it can be useful. And bear in mind, this is not something that generally people are going to have to go through, but I'm just setting up a parallel to what the kind of experience that you may confront when you're moving into these higher states of consciousness. Okay, and before I go into that, I just want to remind you that when we're moving into these different frequencies, the neurochemistry in the brain does some pretty wacky things, and the gland in the brain can produce any chemical known to man if the coding is right and the signals and the genes are activated in the right sequence, all the way up to producing dimethyltryptamine naturally through focus and intention. And so you don't need any drugs to experience these states. They may be useful if you've never had the experience before, to see what it is under the right guidance and in a place where it's legal and all that sort of stuff. But what we're talking about here is to do this naturally, and to do this through training and focus. And so I was watching a video earlier yesterday on physical training, and the guy was saying, you've got two people, like the old twin metaphor. One of the twins goes into the Amazon, takes dimethyltryptamine or ayahuasca or psilocybin or some kind of psychedelic, has this mind expanding experience, you know, in 5 minutes, and then comes back and then is forever changed. But the change in the mind is only, you know, in proportion to the event. And then you've got the other brother on the other side who goes off to a monastery and meditates for 20 years and trains the brain and the body into these states through natural means, and can turn them on and off at will. And the change is, you know, permanent. It's longer lasting, and there's a lot more control over the self when going into these states. And so this is the direction that I want to take you guys in, is that you can access these states. Remember that if you look at the first brother, the psychedelic that they're taking, think of it as a lock going into the gland and activating the gland in a particular sequence, just like pins on a key, unlocking certain pins to turn the tumbler. And then naturally the brain produces this this chemical, and that goes in and out through the body, and that's how we experience this this state. But on the other side, although maybe it won't be as impactful as, you know, taking a dose of something, through training and repetition and focused intention, you can actually activate these states by unlocking it through the right thoughts and the right practices. So what we're doing here also is where part of the brain, the neocortex, where the personality resides, and into those deeper primordial parts of the mind, you know, the older parts of the brain, the ancient parts of the brain. And if we look at it on a, you know, under a microscope, the neural nets, the neurons in these deeper parts of the mind are more compressed. There's a lot more processing power, let's say, in these parts of the brain. And there's a lot going on in those parts of the brain that we don't really quite understand yet. So one of the things that I want to share with you is a personal story, and it's not to impress you or to you know, to take the focus off the topic and to put it on me. But one thing I've noticed with a lot of speakers coming out, you know, out of the woodwork lately, is that they're regurgitating stories that they've heard, or research that other people have done. And so I wanted to share this with you. This is something that actually happened, that I've had firsthand, so I can attest to this experience and how transformative it can be. And so when I was training in martial arts, I was doing lots and lots of training, and I got to a point where technically I was very good, mentally I was very good. My technique was really on point, and I was progressing quite well. And my instructor at the time invited me over to his house, and we didn't do a lot of training. We just pretty much hung out, and he would have private clients come over, and I would just assist or watch or observe and hang out while he was training these beginners, advanced, intermediate, and advanced students. And you know, there was a lot of energetic absorption going on. There was a lot of me osmosis being transferred that wasn't on a physical, mental level. And one night, and he would just keep saying, come back tomorrow, come back and do some more training, come back and do some more training. I'd be there for hours a day, and, you know, maybe I'd put the gloves on for half an hour to an hour max in that whole time. Like, you know, he'd say, come back tomorrow. So one of these days, I think it was about 5 or 6 days into it, I can't remember. And we were just hanging out after all the work had been done. And, you know, I think we were celebrating some wine or something like that. And he said, "Oh, let's, you know, I was a little bit tipsy. My mind was out of the way. I was very relaxed, and I was very tired at the time too." And he said, "You know, put the gloves on and do some training." I'm like, "Man, I just really like now you want to train." So, you know, I put these boxing gloves on, and we're moving around his garage, and he put the gloves on too. And usually he doesn't do that; he just put the pads on, or he barehanded and just be demonstrating certain things. And we would start to spar, and I hadn't sparred with him like this forever, really, because we were in a very private situation. There was no observers, there was no one watching, there was no one, you know, about to walk in, and we started to spar, and slowly, surely, the increments of intensity got more and more, and the strikes he was giving me got harder and harder. And up until that point, I'd always been struggling with the boundary of when to unleash and to let that primordial part of me take over, and when to dial it back. And I hadn't really been in a situation where I was able to let that out and know that, and then let it be expressed. I was actually afraid of that part of myself, because I didn't know if I could control it once it came out. It's a bit like the Incredible Hulk, you know. Once that beast comes out of you, can you get back to yourself again and not destroy your reality? And so I'm a very skilled guy, so I thought if I can do this with anyone, it's him, and he'll be able to handle it and put the beast back in the box, sort of thing. And this is, you know, years into training, long time into training, and the intensity got harder and harder, and all of a sudden some awareness came over me. I was in new terrain. It felt my emotions started to activate. Something kicked in, and I knew that I was in a real situation. It was like I couldn't distinguish the difference between us training and us being in a real combative situation. And so all these things rushed through my mind in an instant. You know, did I do something wrong? Has he got it in for me? Has he been setting me up the whole time? You know, what will happen if I unleash? I don't know what happened there. We just blanked out for a second there. And so this switch flicked, and I went from a part of my mind that I was really familiar with, that I thought I understood, to going to a part of myself that I hadn't ever really explored. And it was confronting, and the energy and the emotion was something I'd never felt before. And I wasn't sure if I liked it or if I was afraid of it. It was this, it was so unfamiliar, but at the same time, it was so familiar at my core that I couldn't even articulate the emotion. And so I started to fight my way out of this situation because he was starting to, you know, overwhelm me. And I thought, if I had this feeling like I do something soon, I'm either going to take a really bad beating and who knows what's going to happen, or I'm going to cower down and it's going to be so traumatic that I'm never going to recover from this. So I leaned into the situation and the emotion, and I started to fight my way out. And all of a sudden, something inside me took over and was activated, and I started to fight back, and all the fear disappeared, all the aggression disappeared, became incredibly focused, incredibly relaxed, but very, very alert. And every movement just came out perfectly. It was like wax on, wax off. And and I could see that my energy start to expand and him start to move back away from me. And just when I started to get into that like second gear in that state, he put his hand up and he said, "That's it. Good. Very good. Excellent. Let's go get a drink." And that was it. And then we took the gloves off, and then we went back to the bottle of wine, and then we talked about this situation. And the reason why I'm telling you this story is that you're going to be confronted with these situations where all of a sudden you're thinking, you know what's going on, everything seems fine, you've got this, it's all familiar, and then all of a sudden reality is going to flip on you, and your whole perception is going to be changed, and then that seemingly, safe environment is going to maybe be perceived as something dangerous, or vice versa. You might be, in a situation that's totally uncomfortable, and all of a sudden you break through and you feel that peace and relaxation at the other side. Whatever it is, whatever the shift is, and it will come, you need to be able to relax and flow through that and allow it to change you, and not constrict and get all freaked out and go back and hide into your past self. Okay, so are we clear of the point of that? Just send me a message and let me know you're still with me. Prepare the mind for these encounters with other states, emotions, beings, realities, dimensions, whatever it is you want to call it. And so you're going to relax through that edge, and you're going to pierce the veil through relaxation. It's not something you're going to force yourself through. It's not something you're going to use aggression to get through. You're going to be very relaxed. And when you go into that relaxed state, while maintaining that alertness, your brain is going to switch gear into a frequency where everything becomes highly organized. Like I said, when you go from that mental plane into the emotional plane and beyond, energetic, you scale up in the bandwidth of frequency, and more information can come in and be processed. And when you're relaxed, you can process that larger stream of information very, very quickly, instantaneously. And through intuition, you're going to know exactly what movement and what to do next. It's just going to come to you, right? Just know that it's inherent in your energy, okay? And you're connecting with that higher part of you. And so we're going to, like I said, with the two brothers, what we're going to do tonight, instead of doing the, induce the state with a device, and who knows what's going to happen and what the intensity is and where you're going to end up, we're going to do this slowly, and I'm going to take you to that edge just like my instructor did. And first we're going to do it very gently, so you know where it is and you know what's going on, and you can step over the edge, lean into it, see what's on the other side, come back again, and get comfortable with that edge moving in and out. Just like I said this morning to the group this morning, it's like if you were learning how to do the split and you wanted to stretch, you just do it very gently at first. You get the body ready, you get everything nice and warmed up, and over time you will eventually end up in a split if that's what your goal is. So we're not going to do the old Jean-Claude Van Damme kickboxer routine where we're stretching you out and pulling you and your hips are dislocating and all that crap. That's not the way to do it, okay? And if anyone tells you, to push through crap like that, I mean, there's a time and a place, but I don't think that's really the way to go here. There's much better ways to do it. Because at the end of the day, when you finally arrive at this state that you want to be in, okay, it's going to feel normal to you. It's going to feel normal to you as the state that you're in right now feels normal to you. And it might even feel boring when you finally get there. You know, this incremental improvement over time, it's like you don't notice your hair growing or your nails growing until one day they're too long, or your hair on your face growing until it gets itchy and annoying. So that's the kind of process we're going for. I'm just going to lean in bit by bit, and over time, incrementally, your improvement will be unstoppable. All right. So, lot to digest. I get that. And you might be thinking all sorts of things. Don't worry about it. When you have the experience, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, if you haven't had one already. So make sure you've got your notepads ready. The other thing with this exercise, this isn't about getting to the end. This isn't about following me word for word. The purpose of this exercise is not to do the meditation the way I say tonight. The purpose of this exercise is to set you up for your future meditations that you're going to be doing either with me or by yourself or in groups or wherever. Because there's going to be times, especially in an hour or longer meditations, where something's going to pull you out. It's going to pop you out of that state of dreamy state, that euphoria, and something's going to bring you and snap you back into like a beta state, and the last thing we want you to do is start going back into monkey mind and getting stuck there, or counting the clock and putting on your old self and lathering up in those old memories and just putting everything back to the way it was. So the idea here is when that happens, because it happens to all of us. I don't care how long you've been doing this. I don't care how good you are. I don't care if you can sit like a lama in Tibet in the monastery for 10 days in meditation. You're gonna pop in and out because the brain slips in and out of different states all the time, because it's a receiver and it's getting hit with waves and signals all the time on all these different frequencies. So I'm going to put you in, so I'm going to take you out. It's not about resisting this so much. It's about riding it and then navigating your way back to where you want it to go. So get comfortable, everyone. Start to breathe and relax. Settle yourself in. When you're ready, put your blindfolds on. Take your time, don't rush. Just breathe, settle down your energy. Just breathe how you want to breathe. Just let your mind unwind. Breathe and relax. Allow all the tension to just start to dissolve. start to dissipate. Start to become softer, smoother, and more relaxed. And while you continue to breathe and relax, gently lengthening your breath, deeper, slower, and just releasing as much tension as you can. There are a few ways to see yourself relaxing into a deeper state, into an expanded state. Of relaxed awareness. And some people of a blueprint of their body, radiating a brilliant, bright blue light. And they like to see any tension or any areas of discomfort through the color spectrum of green being good, yellow being not so good, and red being not as good as it could be. And so just see and scan your body blueprint. And just notice the colors throughout your body. And before you go and change them, just allow them to be there as they are. And as you breathe and relax even more, can you notice the moment where red becomes yellow, yellow becomes green, green blends all the way back into brilliant, bright, electric blue. And throughout the course of this exercise, no matter which way you like to see yourself, relaxing into an expanded state of awareness. I'll be checking in on you from time to time and saying these words. Same or changing. And all I'd like you to do is to take note of whether things have changed or whether they're the same. And it's okay if things stay the same, or if they begin to change easily, effortlessly, calmly, and deeply relaxed. Some people like to use a different technique to see themselves becoming more relaxed. Some people like to see beautiful blue sky, and in that sky they see their tension as clouds. And as they breathe and relax deeper, calmer, the clouds begin to melt, become thinner, and disperse across the sky until they can see that clear blue sky in all the gaps, in all the space between spaces. And they keep breathing and relaxing, knowing that later or sooner that the sky will begin to become completely clear. And then, of course, there's those other people that like to see their mind as a great, big, vast lake stretches out all the way to the horizon, as far as the eye can see. And they see the tension that they may be carrying as ripples across the lake. And as they become aware and accept the ripples just as they are, they focus their energy on their breath, becoming deeply relaxed. And slowly but surely without any effort whatsoever, the stillness comes over the lake, and by holding their focus on expanding their awareness into breathing and relaxing, eventually, inevitably, the lake becomes so still so flat, like glass, mirroring the clear, beautiful blue sky. So much so that you can barely tell the difference between the lake and the sky, blending, merging, becoming one. Can you become aware that the better you breathe, the more relaxed you are now? And the more relaxed you are, the better it is that you breathe. Same or changing? Lean in. Go deeper. And allow yourself to relax even more. Can you see that there's more to feel? And whatever you feel now, feel deeply. Allow yourself to go in. Intuit your feelings. Whatever it is that you see, lean in. See through them. See beyond them. As you scan your system, for any tension, can you seed your relaxation into them? Feel that relaxation taking over any tension. Move in, relax into it. Trust your intuition. Same or changing. Soften just a little bit more. Can you relax even more? Just a little bit more beyond the edge. Same or changing? Feel more. Relax more. diffusing every distraction, every interruption, every obstacle, tension. As an indicator and trigger to relax even deeper. Same or changing? Slowly, gently bring your energy back to your body. Bring it back to this space. Back to this place. Back to this new time. And all the way back to a whole new mind. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Well done, everyone. How do you feel? What did you experience? Is there anything you'd like to share? What questions do you have? Take your time. So did everyone have a beautiful, blissful experience? Or did you find some edges? Did you have to work a little bit to find your center, find your frequency? And did you move in and out of different states of expanded awareness? Are we all back? Come on, come back. You can do it. Beautiful. All right. So there's a few things that are going to happen that I expected to happen. And one is that you would be getting images and movies and memories and things playing in your mind. Now, some are going to be from your memory, and others are going to be streaming through to you. And this is the information that I was telling you about. This is what people call downloads. Now, sometimes it's just your mind sorting itself out, creating imagery to organize certain thoughts, emotions, to heal itself, to go into, to induce certain states, to recover from, stresses or injuries or diseases, whatever. And other times you're going to be getting intuitive thoughts and images. And, this is where people can receive, premonitions. They can start to get answers downloaded from the field to questions that they might have. And this is where you get your direct line of communication with that, higher mind, which is still you. And the other thing that was mentioned here, which I've heard a lot, and I've experienced this a lot, is when you start to drift in and out of consciousness, wakefulness, sleep. And that's when you're right on that edge. You're in that twilight zone. And what's happening here is your mind is shifting from one frequency into another, from one signal into another, from one bandwidth into another. And typically, when you move we move into an alpha and beta consciously, a beta state where we're doing things all day long and busy and logistics and strategy and all that sort of stuff. And then we can move into an alpha state, which is like a learning state where we would read or watch a film, or, we'd be listening to someone intently as they're speaking and learning. And this is usually, we can access this consciously. and then we can slip into a theta state. Now, theta frequency is often associated with dreaming, REM sleep, and lucid dreaming, and often we're asleep when this happens, but through meditation we can take our conscious awareness into theta. We can stay consciously awake even though our body might start to drift off in sleep. Don't worry about this, you'll get used to it. You become more and more aware. Take your consciousness into these deeper states where you'll start to tap into more and more vaster amounts of energy and information. It's even possible to go all the way down into delta and remain consciously awake, and into gamma as well. So this is a really good sign. It means you're right on the beam, you're improving, you're switching in and out of state, which you do all the time, by the way. This is not something that you've never done before. You've been doing this since you're a baby. But now you're doing it with conscious intention and precision. Okay, you're turning it on when you wanted to, and you're turning it off. And just like any type of fitness, you're going to get better at this the more that you do it. Now, one of the things I mentioned in another video is just to find a good pace. Okay, you don't want to stress the mind and body too much. Remember, there's a lot of things going on energetically, reconfiguring, retuning, more energy going through the body. It creates all sorts of different changes that we're not always consciously aware of. You need to give the body and mind time to adjust. Okay, recovery is a big part of training. And so if you're finding yourself getting too tired because you're meditating too often, maybe back it off to a shorter time, or take a day's break or something like that until you're ready to go again. Just a little tip there. And what else? Now I feel very refreshed and relaxed. Good, that's the whole point. That's why we do it. I'm glad to hear that. It means that what we're doing is effective. So, did anyone have the experience where they were confronted by something in that frequency? Sometimes when this new energy comes in, it comes in, goes through the system, scans it, and then if it's not in alignment with that high vibration, that high frequency, it'll start to pull it out of the system. And this is why we hear, people who have gone into the Amazon and done ayahuasca journeys, that, they'll spend, good portion of their day purging and vomiting, and, all these toxins being pushed out of the body really quickly in a very short period of time. It's quite abrupt, and it doesn't sound very pleasant, because when we're tapping into these higher frequencies, it's like it's a higher amplitude, it's a higher current, and anything impeding that movement of energy through the body is going to get forced out somewhere. And so if you're finding that you're feeling too much pressure, then just back it off a notch, go at your own pace, listen to your body. If you give it time and you keep going back to it, and you keep turning up and keep practicing gently, consistently, it might, if your goal is to do it in a year, maybe you need a year and a half or 2 years. You'll still get there, but you'll get there safely. The last thing you want to do is push too hard and then not be able to continue progressing and training. So, does anyone else want to add anything, any questions before we come into a close? We got through a lot tonight. Okay, here we go. Okay, cool. So I'll just read this. A few weeks ago, going up and down like a storm, gliding up and down. I don't know how to describe. I don't know how to describe it any different. It was very new to me, but interesting. Okay, so this is good. This has come up a few times for different people, actually. You know, when you get these vibrations, these jolts through the body, this sort of shaking. You know, this is what I'm saying. It's like this this new frequency of energy comes into the body, and it looks around into all the nooks and crannies and all those dark corners of the mind, and it cleans house, and it starts shaking things up, literally. All right, and so wherever the blockages are, it's going to be identified, and then there's this, you know, other part, this other part of the mind that comes in and starts to clear that away. You know, sometimes it happens really quickly. Other times, you know, it takes a little bit longer, depending on what it is that needs to move up and out. And so think of it like an electrical current. You know, we've heard those urban legends about people getting struck by lightning, and you know, if they were standing completely still, the lightning just went straight through them into the ground, and they were fine. You know, there was no interruption. But you know, if they got caught off guard, or they were standing on the wrong leg at the wrong time, or whatever, then you know, it would knock them flying. And so this is where that if that energy is impeded, it's going to hit whatever the blockage is, and it's going to try and dislodge it and find a way through or around. And so when I was training in martial arts, we were doing strike absorption, and we were learning Systema at the time, which is a Russian martial art, and they have this technique called a ballistic strike, where they throw energy through the strike into the body of the other person. And if you're not trained um, in how to receive a strike and disperse the energy, if you are, then that energy just moves straight through you and out. It's like a bullet passing straight through. You know, it's not much to deal with. Not that a bullet's not much to deal with, but you get the idea of this energy going in and through the body and escaping. But if someone isn't trained and they're tense, or they're emotionally locked up, or they're mentally rigid, when they get hit, they're going to tense up, and that energy is going to bounce all around inside the body. And if it can't escape, it's just going to cause all this damage, and they call that a ballistic strike. It's like where the energy goes inside and explodes out. And instead of escaping, it breaks out through the body. So this is the same sort of principle when we're moving that divine energy in and through us. And remember, it's the loving intelligence going to push us to our new limits, but it's only going to give us as much as we're going to be able to deal with at each given moment. And so we want to prepare through training as much as we can to allow more and more of that current in, not just into the body, but to, you know, make itself at home, and to allow it to change us and upgrade us, so we can really we can decipher all of that information that's coming into our being. Yeah. So this is this is going further. When this stuff starts to happen to you, don't worry. You're not going crazy. You're not getting possessed. You don't need to, get on drugs or anything like that. Um, and you're probably not having a seizure or anything like that, or a fit. But all this new high current of energy coming into it, and you completely let yourself go. Um, and sometimes, if you're sitting up in meditation and this happens, sometimes if you just lie down or you spread out and take the weight off your body, you're going to allow that energy to move through. The other thing is, like, often I will adjust my body in meditation. If I'm feeling like it's locking up or stiff, or I'm getting too much tension in my legs, I'll stretch my legs out, I'll move, I'll let things click and move. And then when that's released, I'll drop straight back in, and I'll drop back in just a little bit deeper each time. So it seems like a major topic, this jolts in the body, energy moving. I have to readdress it, go into it more specifically, maybe. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up there unless there's any more pressing questions coming up. Also, Sunday sessions are an open session. I put those together so people from all over the world could get into that at a reasonable time. I find Sunday is an easy time to make time for things that you want to do. And if you have any experiences throughout the week, either that come up in your life for whatever reason, or as a direct result of training, or something you want to go deeper into in other topics, it's fine. It doesn't have to be this topic as such. Or it can be something outside of this training that you're curious about, that you want clarification on. Feel free to construct those questions. And I call these worthy questions. And what I mean by that is that these are questions that you can't answer yourself. You're not asking them to test me to see, if my level's on point with yours, or to make comparisons or anything. These are issues or problems or curiosities or things you want to delve deeper into, that you find really interesting or fascinating, that maybe you haven't been able to find the answers for through your own research. I mean, you can find a lot on Google and on YouTube and in Amazon books and all that, and workshops. But sometimes there's just those things that you can go down all sorts of rabbit holes looking for, and waste a whole heap of time. And this is the power of the group. If you have any questions, you can either save them for the training sessions, the webinars, or you can send them through on the Energetic Arts Facebook page, or the Energetic Arts community group. If you haven't joined that, I suggest you join that. I'm starting to put up more things on there, more longer content on there that I myself am researching or talking about myself, that you guys can tap into. Yeah, feel free to share this, bring people along, invite them to a training session. I'm always happy to see new people joining in the group at whatever level that you're in. And so I think we'll finish up there. No more questions for now. I think everyone's pretty relaxed. So continue to stay relaxed. Take that feeling out with you throughout your day, and practice just taking a moment whenever you can remember to relax, especially if you can catch yourself on that edge. You know, if you can find yourself in those edges of the mind, in the emotions, in the body, you can just stay on that edge, pay attention to it, lean into it, then pretty soon you're going to progress in ways that you couldn't have imagined. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye for now.